Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom, the walking, talking encyclopedia. Fetal heart, the perfect fetal human heart, to be very precise, how heart develops inside the growing fetus. My dharma, the impeccable wisdom, the wisdom of every perfect object of the universe. My greatest discovery, Divyank, the divine design of nature, with which the perfect objects are designed and created. Divyank is the result of 60 years of integrated knowledge. Impeccable wisdom is enlightening. Akhand Vidya wisdom is empowering. To understand a growing heart within the mother's womb, let's first understand how is the perfect heart an adult so that we can understand what are the changes, why there are changes, what should be done, what are the problems which can be faced, and how we can get over that problem one by one. To be very precise, to understand the perfect human heart anatomy, there are four chambers and there are four valves. And the size of the heart is into 3 into 5, or Deviank ratio. I have already spoken about it. 100 trillion cells of the body which use carbohydrate plus oxygen to produce carbon dioxide plus water. And that carbon dioxide has to be expelled from the body up to the extent of 61.8034%. So it has to be carried through superior vena cava and inferior vena cava to the right atrium. In right atrium, the blood from deoxygenated blood, blue color, moves through tricuspid valve to the right ventricle, and through right ventricle through the semi-pulmonary lunar valve, it goes to pulmonary trunk, pulmonary arteries, lungs for oxygenation. This blue blood becomes red after oxygenation. Through the pulmonary vein, it comes to the left atrium, and mitral valve or bicuspid valve, it comes to the left ventricle. Then aortic semilunar valve, it goes to aorta and then circulated to 100 trillion cells. This cycle goes on perfect, and there will be perfect human anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and psychology without any problem whatsoever. If the cycle is maintained without any adventitious sound like murmurs or without any problem, and blood pressure is maintained 127, mean arterial 93, pulse rate of around 72, blood volume of 5 liters, thou shalt have no problem for the rest of your life, come what may, as long as every other parameter is well taken care of. From that angle, now let's move on to understand what are the changes in a child which close at the time of birth, and what are things which are taught to them. At this juncture, let me also bring it very clear. The prime objective of Akhand Vidyashram is to bring in a uniform, impeccable wisdom for every child from childhood right up to school, to the college, to the university, to the research, to the final throughout the world, that everybody should have a perfect knowledge, a perfect human anatomy, perfect human physiology, perfect human biochemistry, perfect human psychology, and they are to be in tune with universal consciousness and lead a perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise, and happy life for the world peace which we are looking forward to. We, the human beings, are created as guardians of the world to take care of the world, not to create problem by and large. From that angle, there is a lot of responsibility for us, and I have taken this responsibility because I see a lot of mistakes in what have been taught from school, college to the universities otherwise, and it should not be done. And that's it. So from that angle, let's go on to improve upon the kind of knowledge is given and what kind of knowledge we should have, why we should have no difficulty for rest of life. This objective is mentioned in this particular videos, or all the videos are Akhand Vidyashram. Now the first picture which comes to, I've been taking the pictures from internet, the ones which are very popular, so the people know the kind of knowledge which is given. This is one of the most popular pictures of fetal circulation in internet. And here you can see on the left side this placenta, which is there in the uterus of the mother, and all the things which are manufactured required for the child come from mother to placenta. From placenta they carry to the blood to the circulation. So then from placenta, umbilical cord which contains umbilical vein as well as umbilical artery, comes to the nevus and it gets inside the child, and how it proceeds further, let's take it up as a next stage. From that picture you can see right at bottom to placenta and from placenta. At this particular juncture, one more point which I have been hearing from my students, that arteries carry oxygenated blood and veins carry deoxygenated blood. Here, from placenta, blood is carried through umbilical vein. It is a vein and it's red in color. It's oxygenated blood, not deoxygenated. It's enough proof to prove that arteries carry blood from heart to the periphery, veins from periphery to this. In this particular structure, this anatomy is structured to the baby, not to the mother. That's point which should be noted. After the blood from placenta comes to the fetus, to the umbilical cord, to the umbilical vein, it goes to the liver and gets connected through ductus venosus into the inferior vena cava. You can see the picture very clear. When it goes to the inferior vena cava, blood should normally go from right atrium and then to right ventricle to the lungs for purification and come through the left atrium to left ventricle to aorta, the general circulation. Since there are no lungs which are functioning, because there is no air there, so the blood cannot go to lungs for purification at all. So as a result, first shunt is ductus venosus. Second shunt is between right atrium to left atrium is through foramen ovale. You can see very clearly over there. And because of that, the blood is shunted into left atrium. And then, of course, through the left ventricle to the aorta goes to general circulation, there is no doubt. But since blood cannot go to the lungs, but there is a blood which moves from right atrium to right ventricle, also through pulmonary vein towards the lungs. Since it cannot go there, there is a shunt there called ductus arteriosus. This ductus arteriosus shunts blood from pulmonary artery into aorta for general circulation. So I'm very sure this picture has made your understanding a little clearer. And of course, the umbilical arteries are the extension of fetus aorta arterioles, and to placenta it goes from the renal side. So that picture is very clear. To make this picture even understand much better, let's move on one more description where it's crystal clear or better than this. These are all pictures from it. So to understand very clear, the blood arrives through umbilical vein, as you can see on the right at the bottom, red color, is going to liver and then shunted through ductus venosus into inferior vena cava. So first point is very clear here. I'm sure you have no problem how the purified oxygenated blood with all the nutrients from mother to the placenta, placenta to the umbilical to liver to ductus venosus goes into the inferior vena cava is the first clear. I don't think anybody should have any difficulty. It's quite highlighted. Second part is when blood from inferior vena cava is getting into right atrium, and inferior vena cava is bringing oxygenated blood from the head and neck into this. So both oxygenated and de mixed together. Now here you can see first yellow spot, which number 2 is foramen ovale. Allows oxygenated blood in the right atrium to reach the left atrium straight away. Normally between right atrium and left atrium in an adult, this particular foramen ovale gets closed after birth. As a result, you will not suffer from something called atrial septal defect. ASD will not be there because this will close. And having closed that after birth. But here, after this blood comes to this, to the right, to the left atrium, to the left ventricle, to the general circulation, it goes, blood goes. But at the same time, the picture which I told you earlier, there is another spot, ductus arteriosus, between aorta and pulmonary artery. This shunts blood because can't go to blood to the lungs for purification. This is third point to be noted. And as a result, blood cannot go to lungs for purification. It is carried straight and then is circulated throughout the child for rest of the thing. So from this point of view, one thing is very clear. Mother produces things through the placenta, comes to the umbilical cord, to venuses in the liver, inferior vena cava, superior vena cava, ovale, this and done. But there is something missing in this particular picture, which none of the picture people have even mentioned about it. What is it? Think for a while. But in the last picture, I will reveal why I want this particular thing to be like this so that people do not mistake anything at all. Think for a while. And this is the picture of the perfect human heart in umbilical cord. At this particular juncture, let me again repeat, over and over I have been saying, after 22 weeks of gestation of pregnancy, child has grown to a perfect level, and that's a time when entry of human soul should enter and redesign the whole thing. The further development of the child is according to requirements for this. And I'm sure somewhere digital structure or genes or DNAs get modified in the process so that child can have a perfect life for rest of life. In this particular picture, you can see there is all symbols are there. Let me explain the symbols first and then explain what exactly I'm trying to drive at. SP means spinal cord. This picture is from back front. AO is aorta. PV is pulmonary veins. LA is left atrium. Right atrium is RA. Then mitral valves are bicuspid valve. TV is tricuspid valve are three valves. Then you have left ventricle LV, right ventricle RV, and then you have IVs. Between the left ventricle and right ventricle, you have intraventricular septum. So you have a septum between the ventricles. But you have a septum between right atrium, this also. But between right atrium and left atrium, you can see foramen ovale, which shunts blood from right atrium into the left atrium for general circulation to avoid circulation for the lungs. So that is a bigger one and is shown very clearly in that particular pictures. All the pictures, they highlight that. I have no doubt it should be done. It has been done. But IVS, interventricular septum, is also designed in such a way there is something there also. Now, when blood comes from placenta to the umbilical cord to venous shortage to right atrium, the blood is going to get into the right ventricle also, and then it going to general circulation. But that cannot go into general circulation is one part. But between right ventricle and left ventricle also there is a hole which can produce to ventricular septal defect. And that was what I was talking about. That hole is there between IVS. That has not been highlighted, but here I'm sure you can notice it. If you can notice it, wonderful. If you cannot notice it, I will highlight in the next video to really show why atrial septal defect is foramen ovales and ventricular septal defect is because of that hole between these two to shunt blood from right ventricle into left ventricle straightway also before it goes into aorta circulation. Have I made it clear? Are you a little surprised? If not surprised, let's move on to the next slide. Now in this particular slide is the perfect human heart, the ventricular septal defects. Now you can see the RV, right ventricle, you can see LV, left ventricle. Between the two you can see one hole. There is a connection. And that is open for the blood from blue to go into the red side and go into aorta for general circulation. This opening is also there before child is born. But once child is born, circulation starts going to the lungs. The whole structure becomes different. At this juncture, let me also bring one more point, which is one of the highlights as far as my understanding of mathematics, physics, science is concerned, is all the laws of nature. There are certain principles which cannot be changed. According to me, the first principle of nature, which is applied throughout, the concentration moves from higher concentration to lower without any power. So here again, we created certain things, but after birth, change is very automatic. As a result, things start taking different directions. If you understand from that point of view, you'll easily find it's a right ventricle and left ventricle, the septum defect is very, very important again. This is something which I do not see in any of the movements which are taught in school, college to the university. I still believe give them the exposure to the child from the childhood. One more point which I'm not able to understand from my angle, because I still remember the kind of understanding I had as a child. As a matter of fact, since I did not go to school up to the age of 7, 8 years, I was not conditioned to learning. I was more intelligent to observe nature, learn things from observation, see things, listen to the stories, listen to Ramayana, Mahabharata, different stories, and listen to different things. My understanding was very clear. When you are innocent and not conditioned with any thought or knowledge as such, a child can very, very intuitive. Even today, when I look at myself and I look at small child of 2, 3 years, this very small child is able to play with highly sophisticated equipments just like that, as if they're born with that kind of knowledge. Shows what kind of knowledge do they have. They're phenomenal. If the children are phenomenal, their comprehension is phenomenal. They can do wonders in the process. Why are we underestimating them? Why are not we giving them the kind of perfect knowledge from the childhood so that unlearning and relearning is not at all required? And I find the world is having problem because they've been taught things which are wrong, and when they come to me in medical college and other universities, when I ask them questions, the kind of blunders they make, I fail to understand where did they get it from. Well, I don't remember having done that. Maybe I didn't go to school, I did not have conditioner, I was not taught rubbish knowledge. And I want every child to get the impeccable wisdom from the day one, so they don't have to unlearn and relearn for the rest of their life. The prime objective of Akhand Vidyashram is only that, impeccable wisdom for the entire world. I'm not for any individual section of the society. I'm a human being, and I do believe human beings are the only one who are capable of being in tune with nature, because we are microcosmic representation of the macrocosmic universe. The way universe is made, we are made in the same design. The day we represent universal consciousness, with the way we can feel one with that, we'll have all the wisdom within us. And that is the objective with which I am trying to do, hoping that at least next generation onward, students from young days itself will be able to see the beauty, and they don't have to unlearn and relearn. I do not want anything which is wrong to be taught to the human beings as they grow in higher and higher levels of concentration. Because more and more confusing knowledge you have about the concepts, more and more problems you're going to have with the research and the production thereof. And that is what I've been seeing ever since my young days. I've been able to do something which no one in the world has ever done. How could I give Divyan for the first time in the history of mankind? How can I produce 8 Hz frequency throughout the brain with eyes open effortlessly? How can I design all these symbols? I can observe all the things and bring the impeccable wisdom so effortlessly. Is basically because I'm not conditioned by the thought which is given in schools. My greatest asset, I would say, is I can't mug. I have to understand, remember for the rest of my life. But I find everybody is mugging, reproducing, getting marks and forgetting the next time. But I still remember what I studied in school, college, university till today is as fresh as it was 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years back itself. If I can do it, I'm sure everybody else can do it. And I say younger generation even better than me because they're exposed to better knowledge, better equipments, and science has brought different innovations of different nature. Only area where we as a scientists have failed, we have been able to bring conclusive mathematical design in the perfection in that world. And that is the work I have done. Now, with the light of Divyank and this vision, let us redo the whole thing in such a way that we have impeccable wisdom from school child to the college, to the university, to the level that we have to rewrite the entire book. I'm talking conceptual understanding, the core values. I'm not talking of the peripheral dynamic world because when someone has to be equipped in different kind of things, so whatever science has done, I am very comfortable. I have no issues. But when it comes to the knowledge of impeccable wisdom, particularly about human anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and psychology, I am very, very clear. Unless until we have that wisdom, we cannot be physically healthy, emotionally stable, mentally powerful, spiritually intelligent, and in tune with the universe. Unless until we become like that, only then the world will have peace. My objective is world peace for the entire world. From that angle, Akhand Vidyashram stands for impeccable wisdom, and this is. So I'm sure this particular video has brought it very clearly how blood is carried from mother to the placenta, placenta to umbilical cord to this, and how it is circulated before birth. And after birth, with the first breath, whole thing changes. Venous level that closes because it is cut off. So foramen ovale also closes, and the VSD also closes, and ductal arteries also closes. And then you will have a perfectly circulated energy thereafter. So I think from that angle, the kind of impeccable wisdom I have brought in this particular thing is amazing. And I want everybody to have this for rest of their life. And this is what I want everybody to teach. I do not expect this to be complete in another 10 years, but let me do. And over a period, one by one, I'm sure everybody will start looking up to Akhand Vidyashram videos for the impeccable wisdom because I'm making my level best to do it to the best of my ability for the benefit of the whole world to be a peaceful, calm, and quiet place for the entire universe, for everyone, irrespective, in a mathematically designed, conclusive design. So, from that angle, I think it's been lovely. This picture, I'm not going to talk much. I think we have spoken enough. So let's wait and see how things can be done